everyone. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Han Solo news, Johnny Depp's maybe awful comments that he made, Wonder Woman still holding strong, awesome. We're going to be talking this week on YouTube, a little bit of retro Disney, the 411 on 1901. We're going to be talking about Epcot and Toy Story Land, and then Shannon and I both have to geek out. One about television, one about books. For anybody who's out there, hopefully Dale doesn't, not being here make you go away. It's just Shannon and I this week, so for all who come to this happy place, welcome to the Disney Culture Club.
I mean, let's be honest, Josh. We're the main event.
Yeah, totally. You know,
like, who would leave when it's just us, Josh?
I feel like we talk a lot about like when the comedy character takes over the show, it goes south.
Yeah.
Dale's the comedy character here.
That is true. That is kind of true. But he's also our captain. So
tricky situation.
It is very tricky. It's very odd. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know.
Well,
so how are
what was that?
How are things with you, Josh?
Well, you know, things are going really great. I'm just gonna geek out right now because
okay, let's just geek out first.
Okay, I'm really tired. And I'll tell you why. I stayed up until 3 a.m. Watching a brand new show on Netflix. It is called Glow. There was an actual show on television in the 1980s called Glow. It is a dramatization of a dramatization, or I guess a dramatization of the behind the scenes of that show, if that makes sense. Like, so in the 1980s, there was a show called Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. And I know that sounds funny. That sounds weird. And it, like, if you go back and you were like, I'm going to look on YouTube and just type in Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling 1980 show, you will be like, why did anybody think that they should make a show about this? It is so cheesy and awful and silly. But they make an emphasis in the new show, which is by the creators of Orange is the New Black. So they're accustomed to a female ensemble show already. And Glow is this idea that even up into the 1980s, women didn't have great roles on television or in film. Typically, they were not usually the lead character and didn't have the juiciest of parts. And Glow was all women. And a lot of them came up with their own characters. They wrote their own scripts a lot of the time. And throughout this show, they're working kind of as with this B-level director. Everything is kind of working against them. And they end up creating and making a show. And the real Glow, I think, aired for 5 or 6 seasons on television, which is pretty admirable, you know, as far as television shows go. So I'm interested to see kind of how the rest of the show pans out. I'm a little over halfway through. They've already announced there will be a season 2, and I'm assuming that the show will kind of end when the very first like TV taping happens. But Alison Brie is the main star of the show. She's from Community and from Mad Men. That's how most people will probably know her. And I just really love the show. I like the idea always of, the show mixes drama with comedy, which is great. There's a little bit of both. But I always like the idea of a show trying to, like, say something. Especially, like, a Netflix show where there's going to be 10 episodes. And I like that this show, right out of the gate, within the first like 3 minutes, was trying to say something.
That sounds cool. Yeah, I like when they do that too, and especially like with Netflix. I mean, obviously you have access to all of it, but they have less like restrictions. So they can kind of do more things. So that sounds really cool.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
there is nudity, there is language. So
Well, it's a Netflix show. What are you
yeah,
gonna do?
that's something that you gotta, like if you're like, oh, that sounds great. It's like, if you're 14 and your dad's around, don't.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. But I mean, it is a great show. There's a lot to be said about the cast. If you are a wrestling fan, there are like some people in there that you recognize. But overall, I think the show kind of like with the actors and actresses within the show kind of speaks for itself. Mark Maron, who's a podcaster, is in it as well. He's kind of the director. This is overall, it's a great show. Greatly acted well. It's acted out well.
The greatness of the acting is
The
done
acting,
quite well.
correctly. The writing is done really well, and like every episode, Netflix does this like this whole thing where like every episode ends at a point where it's like, I just gotta keep going. So yeah, it's difficult to like stop, but it is a great show. I would recommend it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I want to geek out too because I just found this new app and it's called Litsy, which is like, like Get Lit Fam SY. That's how it's spelled. But it is literally, this is how they sell it, and it's the reason that they sell it this way is because it is literally this thing. It is the perfect combination of Instagram and Goodreads. And if you're not a book lover, you probably don't know what Goodreads is, but it's an app where like you can catalog all the books that you read and find new books, and like I use it to update my reading progress and keep track of like my reading goals for the year and all that kind of fun stuff. And Litsy is basically like if you took that and married it with Instagram, and you get this amazing thing where book lovers can just post everything they want, and each post is tailored specifically to the book that you're reading, and you gain like
cool.
lit fluence, and like you can add books to your stack and say this book was rad and like this book kind of sucked and like whatever. But I'm like completely obsessed with it, so like, oh my god, if you're into books at all, you need to check out this app. Like, seriously, it's changing my life. I'm obsessed. I can't stop.
I like that it gives you posts according to what you're reading. Like,
right, yeah, if you make any posts, yeah, that's what you look up, like, the first thing you do is it's like, all right, what book is this post about? And you put that in there, so it's kind of, like, focused to it. And I find that now I have a lot more excuses to give updates on the books that I'm reading, because I always want to do that on Instagram. I always want to like take a picture of a quote that I like and post it, but like nobody really cares. So it's like I can actually do it on this, and people are like, oh, that's cool, I'll read this book. And I'm like, you should, because it's awesome. So it's pretty exciting.
You found your social media.
Like, I found my social media. I did. Like, this is what I've been waiting for my entire life. Like, this is just like, I'm dying inside. Like, this is the best thing ever.
I'm not even like, I mean, like, I read a lot of like nonfiction. I don't read a whole lot of fiction, but this seems like something that I would even want to join. I just feel like,
oh yeah,
like
yeah, they have that too.
To have like a virtual book club, in like some kind of way, I think it's really neat. Like, there's a lot of people out there that read that don't have anybody to really like talk to about books, and like I think Goodreads is like sort of. I don't know.
They tried to be social, but I find it hard to be social on that.
It is hard. It's more of just a book suggestion app. But I think like this is something where it's like more of a book club because it's constantly social.
Right, yeah. And yeah, a lot of people do updates on like nonfiction books, which is interesting to me because like I read a lot of YA books, so I kind of I'm getting like access to these other books and seeing them, and it's kind of cool because whenever you see their post, you have an option to like add the book to your to reads pile, or you can, if you've read it, you can add it to your like read pile. You can say that you're currently reading it, which is really cool. The only thing I wish that it had was like to update your progress on books, because that's really what I use Goodreads for, is like, all right, I just read to like this page, so I'm going to put that in there because it tracks my progress and it adds it to like my overall reading goal, which this app doesn't do. But I mean, otherwise it's just like it's just amazing. All I've been posting about though is House of Furies and Magnus Chase because that's what I'm currently reading. But so I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Well, and you're new to the
That's right.
social
Yeah.
media, so you're not gonna like post everything that you've read in the past few years. You're gonna just start.
Right.
So
That's right.
that's awesome. I
Mm-hmm.
like that a lot. It makes me want to join it, and like I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge fiction reader, but I feel like it would give me the opportunity to like start reading more fiction, um,
Right.
because of it. But that's
Well,
awesome.
you can join it and follow me and see how much Shannon actually reads.
I will. I will. Although you do cheat because you listen on book or you listen on tape.
Yeah, well, the
Just saying.
people on this app actually also listen to audiobooks. They are just as good a format as anything, whatever.
Also, I just want to say out loud that you said audiobook. I said listen to a book on tape. I'm so old. I'm so old.
But I mean, you can still listen to books on tape. My car has a cassette player,
Okay,
but
so I wanted to um, listen to old radio shows, and this is like probably around 2000, like just around 2000, right? And I was just like really kind of discovering radio shows at that point, which is funny because it would become podcasts. But I had never heard The Shadow, and that movie had just come out, I think. And I wanted to listen to the old Shadow, and I couldn't find any place like on the internet that would be a place I could listen to it. And I ended up finding like cassettes at I think it was at a bookstore, but like I had to buy a box of cassettes. It was like 10 cassettes in this thing, and like I just kept plugging them into my car at that time, and it was like I think that was the last time anybody in the history of the world ever bought a cassette. Um,
I don't know, man. With 13 Reasons Why, like those are cool again.
they
All the
are cool again.
hipsters, yeah, we want records, we want cassettes. What is all of this MP3 nonsense? Psh, gotta take your typewriter into the coffee shop.
The For when they opened Guardians of the Galaxy here for Mission Breakout, they gave cast members like the awesome mix, Volume One or
Oh,
Volume Two,
yeah?
or maybe they gave them kind of one of each. Yeah, they gave them a cassette and it said Awesome Mix, Volume One on it. And my roommate is a cast member, and she got one, and she went to play it because we have like this kind of all-in-one player in our living room, and there's a cassette player in it, and she put it in, and it's blank.
Oh,
They gave her a
no.
blank cassette.
It's like a prop.
It's totally a prop. It was completely blank, and
Oh,
she was like so excited to listen to the soundtrack, and it wasn't there.
oh, man.
It was so sad.
That sucks. That's like the ultimate, like, oh, got him.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh,
yeah,
Disney, what are you doing?
I know. Let's jump into some movie news. I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna call an audible here, and I'm just gonna state that like this box office preview that we've been doing, because we tried to rename the box office rundown when the DCast, ended up switching gears and we started the Disney Culture Club, and we called it box office preview. We've called it best of the box office. We haven't really had a good name for it, but I think we talk so much about like movies coming out, movies that have kind of been around for a while. I'm just gonna call it movie news.
It's kind of what it is.
This is kind of movie news. Um,
Yeah.
so Transformers 5 came out. That's all I got on that.
I'm glad that it finally came out because I'm tired of hearing about it. We've been seeing the preview for it since Rogue One.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I'm just tired of hearing about it.
What's funny is I'd see the preview and I'd forget about the film by the time I saw the preview again.
Right.
Like it just like it's such a forgettable thing at this point. Like Michael
Well, and the way
Bay
the preview
transforms.
starts out, it looks like it's supposed to be a different movie, and you're like, oh, what's this new high fantasy? Oh, it's Transformers.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like
Just
every time.
Transformers.
It's just
Um,
Transformers.
it'll be interesting to see if the series keeps up. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's making money, I guess. So whatever, as long as it makes money. But interestingly enough, with money is that Cars 3 made uh, money this weekend, and I think it's the number two film. But right behind it is still Wonder Woman. Like, and
Because
Wonder
Wonder
Woman's
Woman's the
been out for
best.
a month now. It's still holding
Hmm.
strong, and that's awesome. I mean, I had, and we'll talk about it when we get to the 411. Um, I had a conversation with a female director this week, and we did talk about Wonder Woman, and I said like the door is kind of opening for female directors. Do you think this is a positive? And she was still kind of skeptical about that door being open. But she was happy to see it being open, and happy to see a character that was female, a director that was female, and a story that was good, to be able to hold strong in in the box office. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
that's happening.
Me too.
I do want to talk though about two important things. The Han Solo movie is changing. Lucasfilm felt that the Han Solo film was becoming a little too comedic, fired its directors, and hired Ron Howard to finish this film. It was already in production, they've already shot stuff. Uh, and all I could think when they fired the director and hired somebody else to come on is The Good Dinosaur. Because that is the last Disney film that Disney fired the director and brought somebody else in to do it, and it became a mess.
Yeah. Because you can tell when it changes hands. Like, you really can't, unless they do it well to the point where they kind of just take what they have and just restructure it. And I know that their worry is that it doesn't feel Star Warsy enough, like it was supposed to be too funny or whatever. But I mean, with the directors that they had, like, from what they've said, they were making the movie that they thought they were supposed to like make. They thought they were supposed to have, a big
Right.
hand in it. So they were making the movie that they wanted, and then all of a sudden Disney's like, "No, this isn't Star Wars. Just get out." So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that, because I kind of feel like changing it up, having something maybe that feels a little bit different, feels a little bit fresh, could be interesting, because it's still Han Solo. So it's still Star Wars, but I don't know, like, because with Rogue One, we had new characters. You wanted it to feel the same, but with this, it's old characters. So I don't know.
And again, the discussion of the sidekick character, and I know for a lot of people they'll probably kill me saying that Han Solo is a sidekick character, but he
But he
is.
is.
He is a sidekick character, and even though he's dead serious, the way that he's serious and like his delivery is comedic sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Lando is kind of naturally charismatic and comedic, and the two of them together, if the film is that, could be a comedy film. The relationship between Chewie and Han is could be a
Mm-hmm.
comedy film. So I could see them going down that avenue, and maybe I don't know what they want from the film. I guess they want Ron
Right,
Howard
yeah.
from the film is what they wanted, but
Mm.
I was really really excited for this film. I love the cast. I love the choice in directors. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, only time will tell.
Right. And we'll see this film. I think it's slated still for early next year. I don't think that
Mm.
that's changing. So we'll see in like less than a year how this film came out.
Yeah.
And last bit of movie news: Johnny Depp made a comment about assassinating a president. And I bring this to the table because I think Johnny Depp over the last decade has been kind of a Disney star, right? He's been in the Pirates films, all five of them. He was in the two Alice in Wonderland films. He's done stuff. Sorry. Uh, sorry.
Josh Yans.
I know. But he's done a lot of Disney stuff, and he's done a lot of family film stuff ever since he had kids. He did Willy Wonka, and he did now part of the Harry Potter series, Wizarding World. Anyway, with the Fantastic Beasts series, he plays a integral role in that, and I wonder what this will do to impact him, or if it'll impact him at all.
Well, I actually saw something on Pinterest. It came off of Tumblr, so you have to take it with like a grain of salt or whatever, because people get really fired up over on Tumblr. But they mentioned this along with some other things about how, like, you know, Donald Trump can say a bunch of all this stuff about women, and we still elected a president. They listed Johnny Depp saying these horrible things, and still probably nothing's going to happen to him. And they listed a bunch of other people, and they're like, we just kind of let this happen. So I kind of don't think, you know, he's going to see any kind of repercussions from this statement. I think they're probably just going to keep rolling with it, because to be honest, I hadn't even heard about this until I saw it on Pinterest, and then you brought it up. I was like, oh, this is actually a thing that was happening. This wasn't just somebody like finding something on Tumblr. So I really think that, like, as a society, we've kind of just become okay with these things, and I don't think that's such a great thing, but I don't know.
I call it Charlie Sheen syndrome.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
That's definitely, like, Charlie Sheen got away with for over decades. Like, he's just gotten away with stuff. Still has a career. Again, this is something that we'll see, but I think you're kind of right. I think that in 2 months, forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, even if you look at it, too, looking back at the Bachelorette stuff that we talked about with, or The Bachelor in Paradise, all of those accusations, all of the magazines that I saw, like, at the grocery store this past week, were all about, is Corinne lying? None of them took her seriously, and they're all willing to forgive, you know, like, the mail-in questions. I'm kind of like, are we kind of letting this stuff slide? Like, is this really what's happening?
Yeah,
so I don't know, man.
I think we still have a long ways to go in that situation, you know,
But Wonder Woman has given us hope that maybe.
Yeah, again, and like when I talked to Annalise, you know, about her film and talking about females in film and celebrities and whatnot, she seemed skeptical, and I think it's because of stuff like that, you know, like. We open one door,
and I agree.
We close it somewhere else. So
yeah, and I also think, you know, another reason that she's probably skeptical is because we don't want to get our hopes up. Like, that's why, like, everybody with Wonder Woman, nobody was excited, like, or showing their excitement, because we were all prepared for it to be a letdown. And I think that's still happening now, because we're like, okay, it was good, but we can't get super excited because we're probably something's going to happen.
Right.
So.
Let's jump into this week on YouTube. So there's 2 videos this week. Myself and Shannon both picked one. And Shannon, I don't need to know about this, like, right now. All 8 Harry Potter movies by kittens.
Oh my god, okay, so I actually had, like, a serious video for this week, because it was really interesting. It was about Star Wars and Stormtroopers, and it was really awesome, but then I just opened YouTube, and I saw all 8 Harry Potter movies by kittens. I'm like, what is this thing? And I clicked on it, and it is the best thing I have seen in my entire life. It is these 2 little gray kittens. They're like they're like a month old. I don't even know. They're so little. And they're literally telling the Harry Potter story with these kittens. And, like, he wears these little glasses made out of pipe cleaners and has a little lightning bolt scar. And, like, through half of it, one of the kittens is always asleep. And it's so cute. It's perfect. Like, if you want, you're just going to giggle and feel good about life. And you need to watch this. You just need to watch it.
So before this, Angie came to me with this idea of, like, why don't we take our 2 dogs and retell Disney movies? And we want to do that. And so I'm actually going to look at this for research purposes.
You should, because it can be done. Yes, I need to see this, Josh. You need to do this. This is a promise. You've just made a promise to me right here on the podcast that this is going to happen.
That there will be...
There'll be Disney movies as told by your dogs.
As told by dogs.
Yep.
My video is... you don't even need to watch the whole thing. I don't think you need to... Because it's like...
No, you can even just watch, like, the first, like... Yeah, and it's...
And it's called... Every time the lightsabers clash, Trump says Bing. And... It is that. It is literally the fight.
It is literally that.
A lightsaber fight. I think it's the one. It's Darth Maul, like the in battle from Episode 1. And every time a lightsaber touches, Trump says "bing," and it's super hilarious. I don't understand why stuff like this wasn't made before. And it's great. I really like it. I also want to bring up John and Ben Carlin, or Jay and Ben Carlin, made a video. I think I want to save it till next week, because they made this video and they found somebody, they kind of found a guy that found a guy, and he kind of told the story about Andy's dad, why Andy's dad isn't in Toy Story, any of the Toy Story films, and kind of gave an explanation. And now that it's out, it's gained huge traction. I think it's like already over 1 million views.
Yeah, if you Google Toy Story, it comes up too.
Yeah,
like this video. It's really good.
But Andrew Stanton and some others have come out, huge executives that have worked at at Toy Story, at Pixar, directors that have worked at Pixar, and are already debunking it. So I'm interested to see kind of the aftermath of where this goes. But
right, yeah, like if it's confirmed or anything.
But that's out there if you do want to watch that video. But
yeah, and what I do want to say, I do want to say that what I like about it is that it shows how much thought goes into these movies. And like my cousin is trying to become a writer, and she really likes to build up her worlds first, and they're like really complicated and really intricate, but obviously once she sends like her characters through, we aren't going to see all of this backstory that she created. Right. And that's exactly how this is, because there's so much that we don't know, because we don't have to know it to like the movie, but it's still there and it fills in all of these holes, and it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think we'll bring it up next week when Dale's here, and we'll talk about it more, because I think that there's gonna be a lot more aftermath to this. So we'll talk about it then. Let's talk about some retro Disney. This week, Disney announced that they're going to bring back the Mickey Mouse Club. And they're not doing it by conventional television. A couple of months ago, I think it was a couple of months ago, they dropped Maker Studios and decided that Maker was no longer going to be something they were affiliated with. YouTube was not going to be something that they were going to really push. And us, as well as so many other different YouTube channels, took monetization away, and that's fine. Whatever Disney wants to choose is their thing. But they decided to create Disney Digital, and a couple of YouTube stars ended up on it. Specifically, a lot of people who do Disney stuff. Again, not us, but that's fine. But nobody really knew what Disney Digital was or what it was going to be. And what it looks like it's going to be is a way for Disney to kind of reach out to people who are unconventional actors or whatever they are, whether it be a singer or a dancer or whatever. And they're going to use some of these unknown people to cast a Mickey Mouse Club, or what they're going to call it now, Club Mickey Mouse, and they're going to put it on Facebook and Instagram, which is an interesting choice. And they're going to hopefully try, instead of casting YouTube stars, they're going to try and make their own stars, viral internet stars. So What do you make of that kind of idea?
I think it's cool that they're trying to find new people instead of just using like already big names. But I think it's kind of weird that they don't want to do this on YouTube, because I feel like that work works better to have like this be like a YouTube channel and build a YouTube community around it because the people are already there. Because it's kind of weird that they want to do it on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm not sure about that choice and like them dropping Maker and everything, but I do like that they want to bring new voices and new people to the scene instead of just taking people that are already there, because that gives more people opportunities.
We are seeing some, which is interesting because over the past, I would say this year, so the past 6-7 months, um, we've seen the live video streaming service kind of broaden Facebook. There are a lot of people who do Facebook live shows because it's interactive. Instagram Live is interactive with its audience, so I kind of think they want to go that route. They want it to be a live show that, instead of has a live audience there, is interactive with the hosts. And I think
I guess that makes sense, but even then that brings up the question, like, why not do, like, Twitch? Because that's specifically for live streaming, but I guess that isn't as interactive maybe as like Facebook and Instagram, but that is like live stream specific.
And I think but I think Facebook allows you to get rid of certain words or kind of
that is
your
true.
Audience. Twitch doesn't really allow that. YouTube doesn't really allow that. So I think they're trying to create a live show,
family friendly,
that's a safe space that they can make sure is going to constantly be PG.
That is true. Yeah, that does allow for more monitoring, like in the comments and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that does make sense. It is just kind of like, it's always weird to me when people want to do that kind of stuff on stuff that isn't YouTube and Twitch, just because that's like what those things are for. Right. But that does make sense that they want to try and monitor it better. So I don't know.
Yeah, be interesting to see the outcome and what Disney Digital creates in the long run. If this is their first major project, we talked about YouTube stars coming to Disney XD, and this kind of cross-platform thing that they've now kind of got going with Disney Digital. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mickey Mouse Club coming back. Yay! 411 on 1901. Let's talk about
411 on Josh Taylor.
Yeah, let's talk about me, I guess, really. 411 on 1901, it'll be really quick. I kind of talked about it already. Modern Mouse Radio, episode 158. I talked to director Annalise Aphelion about her upcoming film, Looking for Leia. I learned about this film. I had sent a link over to you, and you were like, OMG, I know about this. Please do this.
I was like, oh my god, I've already donated. Josh, please talk to this woman.
And so I talked to her. We've donated, and I ended up talking to her on Monday, and they had a Kickstarter campaign that still needed, I think at that point it needed over $6,000 out of its $25,000 budget. And I was like, if there's a way that I can really help this film, it's by right now getting them on Modern Mouse Radio and talking about it and like helping them. And she was able to do not only my show, but a ton of other shows, and kind of get the word out. And their Kickstarter raised over the $25,000 mark, so they're able to keep this thing going in production. Looking for Leia is getting made for sure. I had no doubts that it was ever going to get made, but the Kickstarter campaign makes it possible a lot easier. Sure. And words. But I had a really interesting conversation about females in film, what this film meant to her, and kind of females in fandoms, because she made an interesting point that females have always had their fandoms, but they've never really found their kindred spirits enough to kind of make it public. So we're seeing this like huge surge in women or people of all different nationalities and backgrounds going to conventions and stuff, and a lot of people would report on it that like, oh, it's amazing that like, Marvel or Star Wars has this brand new female audience, and it's like the audience
Right.
has always been there. It's just the
Hmm.
internet and conventions and things like that have given the okay for women to not feel like they need to hide it.
Yeah. I really loved when you guys talked about that because it was like this community has always been there, but now through the internet and social media and stuff, people are able to find others that like are have been kind of like in the dark and they hadn't been able to find each other before, and now it's kind of okay to let your geek flag fly and just kind of be into it because when I was in middle school I was really in to Ben 10 Alien Force and Generator Rex. I told no one. No one. Like I never even talked about it, but man, I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning just to watch reruns of this show. I watched it every Saturday. I was so obsessed with it. I still have a Ben 10 poster in my in my room on my wall because I loved this show so much and I literally like told no like nobody ever, and like the thought of even telling somebody made me so mortified, and now I've actually kind of found out that there's like a following for that on Pinterest. Like there are lots of people that were obsessed with Kevin Levin as well, and I'm like, where were these people when I was in 8th grade? Like what? So it's just so exciting. And if you haven't listened to this Modern Mouse episode, Annalise is so amazing. I'm so excited for her film, and I'm just like, yeah, I heard about her when she was on Sky Talkers, and I need this film. Like, I'm really excited.
Well, and it's great that like she was on Modern Mouse because Modern Mouse Radio isn't like I love doing the DCC, but we don't. I mean, we do touch a bit on some hot topic issues, but like
Yeah, but you get to go more
that's what
in
Modern Mouse
depth.
Radio has been for a long time for me is being able to just kind of deep dive into really hot topics, through the lens of Disney. And this was perfect. She was able to kind of do that, and I don't think on a lot of the other shows she's really done that as much. Um,
Hmm.
so, and we did talk about her film, but we talked about a lot of other stuff that was kind of on her
Yeah,
mind.
you guys talked about Wonder Woman and all that. Yeah,
Yeah, so
that
it's
was
good.
awesome.
It was really good. The other show this week, which was also my show, because I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just sorry.
Because Josh is everywhere. Josh is all.
World That Never Was back for its third of 6 episodes. I talked about the possibility of Epcot having a Soviet Union pavilion back in the late 80s, early 90s. We talked about the downfall of the Soviet Union, but more importantly, I tried to bring up the emphasis that sometimes we put a prejudice or put blame on people when it really should be about politics. Like, we look at Russian people, specifically for this episode, we look at Russian people as these awful people because of a political structure that they really had nothing to do with. They were as much afraid and prisoners or whatever as kind of the rest of the world was. But, we kind of, I kind of correlate it with how we in America now kind of look at people from the Middle East. And we kind
Hmm.
of like blanket that term, Middle Eastern, instead of really kind of knowing what we're talking about. And we fear people based on their background or ethnicity. And so it was an interesting topic. I brought in some old friends. I brought in Angie. Angie and I went up to West Hollywood, where there's the most. I think this is right, but it's like it is one of the, if not the, most dense amount of Russian-speaking people in America in like one neighborhood. Um, it was really interesting to be there and kind of see it and like how Little Armenia and like Koreatown and Chinatown are all in that area of Los Angeles, and they're very definitive as far as architecture and signage and all this stuff. But this like little Russia or little Odessa area of town doesn't really have that. Like you could drive by and not really know. And I think it was kind of like people in hiding in a certain way,
Hmm.
and people who didn't want to be prosecuted for where they'd come from. and because of that, I just kind of thought like this is a really interesting topic. I didn't mean for it to become so human. I meant for it to be more of a history lesson, and then it became really human. So,
Hmm. Which does tend to happen when you really take a look at things, but that's
right,
really awesome.
yeah, I loved it. We had two kind of weird different videos though that came out this week. Normally like we do, um, straight up Disney content, but you
Theories,
opted,
analysis, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, and you opted to do more of kind of like a weekend in my life type of thing because you sat down and watched all of the Harry Potter films.
Again.
Um, and it was kind of like a nice like introspective into who you are as a person, which I like.
Hmm.
I think like there's a great idea here of like balancing stuff because a lot of the stuff that we put out, um, we're trying to be clickbait without being clickbait, right? Like we're
Yeah.
trying to be found, really. Like,
Yeah, it's like we're trying to get found because it's like in our minds the content is there, but we need people to
to
find
see it.
it. But we're
Yeah,
also trying not to be so like blatantly clickbait.
right.
And yeah, like I don't normally do a whole lot because I'm normally working or in school or just hanging out or whatever. But I had a lot going on this week, so I thought I would show you guys. And I did like that somebody mentioned that I went from talking way too much last week to talking like not at all this week.
Right.
And if you can see like in those clips I am talking because like I was talking about what I was doing, but as I was doing it, I realized that like you get more about me and my personality if I took me talking out of it and I just put in like cards and timestamps and sped it all up so you could kind of see how things are going because that's how my life is. It's just like a whirlwind. Like things are just happening like all the time. There is no like, let's just sit down for a minute, except for like maybe like 2 seconds, like in the morning when I can like actually read my book. And then it's like, all right, now I got to go do a thing. So I thought it was really cool. I'm really glad that like I got to share it with you guys because I had so much fun like with my cousins. I don't have any siblings, so my two cousins are kind of like my sisters. So
Right.
it was fun.
Yeah, and I think that that's bringing these style videos, um, for people who are already subscribed. And I when I say like we're trying to find an audience, we do have an audience, and I love the fact that we have an audience. I love the fact that people comment on videos, and I think the videos like this are for those people who have been around for a
Right.
while, who want to know a little bit more about us. And like we did the tag series where each one of the four of us did, our own tag about Disney stuff. But this was less about Disney and more just kind of this is my life. This is personal to me. I'm letting you in,
Right. Yeah.
which is cool. And Angie and I kind of did something similar. Like Angie had
Hmm.
this idea that we were going up to West Hollywood to do this Russian thing, and we were going to record it live there so that I could bring it back to do the podcast. So why not do kind of a video of this kind of behind the scenes of recording the podcast, and we would kind of have this like little extra thing. Like if you listen to the show, then you could kind of go and visualize this place that we were talking about. And then if you saw the video and you were like, what's this about? You could go listen to the podcast and learn
Right.
something. So she had this idea of doing that. And at the same time, we kind of had this like little date of a day and kind of made something of it. So it's not Disney, but it is like related to what our channel
Hmm.
is, which is kind of the same as you. Like you did a video that's related to what the channel is, but it's not necessarily a Disney video.
Right. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
approached
And
it
I
that
mean,
way.
yeah, and what I like about that too is that it's kind of like, we're not just like talking heads. Like we are, people, and like we want you guys to see like our lives because like we may just be like like on the internet and we don't really know you guys, but it's still nice to kind of like reach out and feel a little bit more personal.
Right.
So.
And speaking of reaching out, so we're gonna be at the D23 Expo. All
Hmm.
four of us, you, myself, Dale, and Angie, we're gonna be wandering the halls, all 3 days of the expo, and we have pins, we have stickers, and we may have other things coming, but we'll have stuff. So if you are going to the D23 Expo, um, we're not going to have an official meetup. There's a lot of other people doing meetups. We're going to actually be going to some meetups and shooting some videos and stuff like that. But we are open play. So
Hmm.
we're going to be letting people know where we are. I think the easiest way to do it is probably through Twitter. So we'll
Yeah.
probably be on Twitter often, as will probably other people in the group, and we'll be letting people know where we are. We'll be posting pictures, and if you find us at the Expo Hall or at Disneyland or whatever the case may be during that weekend, um, come find us because we have something to give you, whether it be a sticker
Yeah.
or a pin or whatever the case may be. So come find us at the D23 Expo, July 14th through the 16th.
Yeah, and we want to talk to you guys. And I did want to tell you, Josh, that Phoebe, fangirl with pens, she's reading Heartless, which is one of my favorite books ever, and she said that she was going to have it done by the time D23 came, so that we could talk about it. And I was like, oh, good, we can cry together. So I'm really excited for that because that book, oh my God, that book.
You're excited for
So
your crying session?
I'm excited for a crying session. Let's go.
Okay. Um, Last bit here, let's talk a little bit of theme park news. Um, all Walt Disney World related. Even though we could talk about Shanghai, Shanghai just passed its 1 year anniversary, and they did much better than Disney expected them to. So, congrats to Shanghai. You've very much surpassed Paris by a lot. But at Disney World, we knew changes were coming to Epcot. That's been speculated for a while. They've already worked on Magic Kingdom with New Fantasyland. They worked on Animal Kingdom with Avatar, The World of Pandora. They're working on the Hollywood Studios with Star Wars Land and with Toy Story Land, which we'll get to in a second. And they are working probably on something at Epcot. We just didn't know what. There have been a lot of rumors about what's going to go on with Future World. There are some plans there. We know for sure right now that the Ratatouille attraction is going into the France Pavilion. And it looks like Epcot's idea overall is to bring more characters to Epcot, similar to how Disney's California Adventure got rehauled and got more characters, and more Disney-fied, so to speak. So we know that the Ratatouille attraction is coming. They're talking about retheming the Three Caballeros attraction in Mexico to being Coco
Ooh.
when that film comes out. They are talking about possibly bringing in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's not a for sure thing. There's still Marvel weird contracts with Universal down in Florida. If not, there will still be something possibly Tron related in Future World. There's going to be a lot more Disney franchises coming there. And Inside Out is more than rumored to be taking over the Imagination Pavilion. So there will be Inside Out emotions to make you feel things.
Yeah, which I think is really awesome because that kind of adds to the learning experience for like some of the younger visitors because you can relate it to these characters. And then you also see that in these movies, yes, maybe there's still like American voice actors or whatever, but they're from all over the place. Like even like Disney princesses, they're from everywhere.
Right.
So it's really interesting to like see that in there because I know like with me, I'm always more interested in like seeing how it related to like the backgrounds and like where they're supposed to be from and like the fashions and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's really cool. Like I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I know that people have come out already to bash it, but that's how the internet works. But Disney has said that they really do want to uphold the idea that Epcot is a place to learn.
Right.
So even though they're adding a lot of characters in, they do want to emphasize still that World Showcase is about learning about cultures from around the world. And Future World will be about learning about technology and the world that we live in, and kind of what's already there. They're just emphasizing it with characters.
Yeah, which to me just adds to it. It makes it easier to learn that way, because it's almost like you're not learning, you're just
Right.
kind of barely picking it up, but it's stuff that it's going to stay in your mind because you absorbed it just kind of walking around.
Exactly. And then I mentioned it before, but Toy Story Land is most likely going to open next year. And the D23 Expo coming up in a few weeks, they need to have announcements. They've already announced that part of the Expo floor, the Disney Parks area, will be all about Star Wars Land. They'll have a whole layout about what Star Wars Land is, probably at both parks. But during the panel at D23, during the theme park panel, they are going to announce the opening date for Toy Story Land, which includes the Slinky Dog Dash roller coaster, and I believe the Alien ride is more like bumper cars. But this is more or less a glorified kids land, similar to how Bugs Land is at California Adventure. Although I will say that I'm interested in it more than probably most people are. But as far as theme park stuff, I know we've kind of talked about it, and you're not like, out of everything that Disney does, you're more of a movie person than a theme park person. But is there anything that you are like, man, I hope they announce something like this at the theme park panel?
I don't really know. Like, I am excited for the new stuff. Like, I am really excited for Star Wars Land. I think this sounds really cool. I want to know if they're going to ever actually do like a straight up Marvel Land. I don't think that's something that they would announce at this, but I feel like with how well the Marvel stuff has been going over with the little bit that they've been doing, I think it'd be something really interesting that they could do. And as far as like other lands, I almost feel like they should just do like a Pixar specific, but I don't know. It is really interesting though. I am excited about Toy Story Land more probably than most people, just because it's so fascinating to me. Like, you're going to be in like the world of toys. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
And I think that they'll probably have some announcements for Hollywood studios. I think that they'll announce what the name change will be to the Hollywood studios. I know they've kicked around a few ideas of what it will be, and a new logo, and kind of lay out what the Hollywood Studios park will be in the coming years and what it will look like overall. I think that'll be a big thing at the expo, but we'll speculate more, I think, in the coming weeks about the D23 Expo. What
Oh,
happens.
for sure.
We've talked about doing some sort of show Sunday evening right after the whole expo, so we'll do that in some way, whether it's a recorded thing, whether it's live, I'm not really sure. And then
We're still trying to plan it all. We're
still trying
just
to find
figuring
out.
it out.
What we do know is that we'll be, if you're at the D23 Expo, we will be giving out some things. If you're interested, we have stickers and stuff like that. But that covers the whole show. We covered everything for the week, and so we did it, Shannon. We did it without Dale.
We did it. Yes.
We made it through.
We're coming for him.
We don't need him. We don't need a man to tell us what to do, right?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I feel weird now. But
Welcome to the girl side.
I know. Before we get going, I do want to state that we had a review.
Oh, yay.
I need to find it really quick. But for those of you who are new, or maybe been listening for a long time and you haven't, whatever the case may be, if you're listening to us through iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean or wherever you listen to us, please leave a review. I know we got a Podbean review, although it just said like great listen. So thank you to that person who did say that. But we got a review on iTunes, which is always cool to get, and it's always cool to see what people like, because I think it's funny, like sometimes people really like The World That Never Was, and like right now, okay, so right now we were joking, it's very Josh centric, like I'm in 3 different shows, 3 podcasts we have, I'm in all 3 of them, but Music WS16 said, this is a great podcast to listen to. Network 921's a great podcast to listen to. And if you're a Disney fan, I love listening to explain this book to me. because it's fun to hear Shannon and Dale fangirl over all the books and give their opinions. And I also love listening to the Disney Culture Club because it keeps me informed with all the Disney news, movies, parks, etc. So thanks for the great podcast. Music, thank you for the great review. I'm really glad that you love Dale and Shannon. I'm part of the Disney Culture Club. I kind of feel left out, though. I've got all these different things going on.
Yeah, you're like everywhere, and they're kind of like, that Josh kid. Like, I don't know about him.
I'm
like,
go back and
man,
listen to those old Explain These Books to me because.
Oh yeah, let's watch Shannon figure out how anything works.
But you know, it is a cool journey. Like, it is cool to see that, and like I know for me, if anybody listens to any Modern Mouse Radio episode that came from the first 2 years, I'm like so embarrassed. But I think that people like to go on that journey to see like how you made it to where you are. So to me, that's kind of why I liked listening to the show. Like, yes, I liked listening to both of you fangirl about stuff. But I think it's cool to see how the show progressed and changed. And
that even comes back to the videos that we made. It just, you can see the person beneath the embarrassing mess that was Shannon in seasons, like, at least, well, season 1 especially. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, thanks for the iTunes review. Thanks for the comments constantly on YouTube or wherever you leave comments, and people comment on Facebook. But thank you guys so much for just being interactive with us and participating. Please leave more iTunes reviews. Please leave more YouTube comments. We always answer. We always try and bring them to the show, whatever the case may be. But Shannon, I think that's the whole show, right? That's what we got?
I think so too, yeah. See, it went off without a hitch. We only had that one problem right in the beginning where Shannon forgot her extension card. That's okay. But we did it.
We did it. And until next week, where Dale will probably be back.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We need you, Dale.
Yeah, so we'll see you next week for another episode of Disney Culture Club. Keep on moving, people.
Bye. Hurrah! We did it.
We did it, and we did it in under an hour.